This time on the ATP Champions Tour. The grand finale were at the Royal Albert Hall in London for the final ATP Champions Tour event of 2015. Fond farewell, we say goodbye to a key member of the ATP Champions Tour team, tournament referee Alan Knowles. And we round up the best of the action from the closing stages of the 2015 season. Welcome to the home of the all-time greats, where the legends of tennis compete. To qualify, players must be either former world number ones, Grand Slam finalists, or Davis Cup winners. Only the best of the best need apply. Running through to December, the season climaxes with the Champions Tennis at the Royal Albert Hall in London. This is the ATP Champions Tour. The jewel in the crown of the ATP Champions Tour is the Champions Tennis, held at the picturesque Royal Albert Hall in London. The event has taken place every year since 1997, making it the longest running of all ATP Champions Tour events. This season-ending finale is a tournament with which many a tennis legend wants to be associated.
It's a great event, to play in the Royal Albert Hall, just, you walk on court and you just feel like playing tennis and you feel like interacting with the crowd, and it's a great event.
Every time I have to, scratch my eyes. Am I dreaming? Am I going to play here? There are tennis courts here, but yes, it is, and I'm thrilled to be back here.
It's something just unique. Every year when you're coming back, I think it's 18 years it's been playing, and it's something always not different, but special.
It's somewhere I've played for the last 6 or 7 years, and it's such an iconic venue. I'll never get bored of playing tennis here, so excited to be back for one more year.
A renowned concert venue, the Royal Albert Hall is known for its acoustics. So it always lends itself to some of the theatrical performances you tend to find on the ATP Champions Tour.
I think people really understand tennis here. I've always said that since Wimbledon, everything. You don't hear a cell phone, they laugh, they know tennis. When you make a joke, you know what they're talking about, and it just makes the players talk more too. I never used to talk that much, but now I say things, and it's very nice that everybody laughs and in a good atmosphere.
I feel like you're all a singer, or you are an artist or something. We are like an artist, but not the same with tennis, but it's always something different. It's always something unique.
The lineup at the Champions Tennis this year is impressive, and with some younger legs taking to the court, the competitive edge remains fierce.
Well, having James Brake, come is a great addition. I think it probably means a bit of trouble for the opposition, because he's still, he's one of the younger guys and still in good shape, still plays well.
Well, it's an iconic venue. I'm proud to be playing here. First time stepping foot in the arena and getting to play in front of what I'm sure will be a charged crowd.
It is great news for the Champions Tour, and I think that's kind of the beauty. We've always got, people who are retiring from the main tour, and there will be people that still want to go out and compete and hopefully, keep supporting the Champions Tour as a whole.
The defending champion in London is Fernando Gonzalez, and the Chilean returned this year, determined to retain his title.
Yeah, actually it was my first Champions Tour event last year, and I had a really good time. We played a good match with Andy, and the condition was better for me because the court is a little bit slow, and that becomes very good for me, for my game. And of course we play a super tiebreak at the final set, and of course was much better for me because I win.
One consistent feature of the Champions Tour is the impressive player party. This year was no exception, as the stars of the ATP Champions Tour were treated to some very special musical accompaniment.
Yeah, it's great to see Mats and Mac up there and having a bit of a jam. We quite often we get together. It's one of those cases of too many cooks can spoil the broth, so you can't get everybody up there having a bit of fun. I would have liked to have jumped up there and played a bit of guitar myself, but John's improved. He's a good guitarist now. He's hitting some good notes. So it's great fun to see the guys get up there and have a bit of fun and relax. And it's there's a lot of stuff going on this week. It's a busy week.
So we get to come to a fantastic place. It's our last event of the year, and it sort of culminates what we've been trying to do, which is to prove to people we can still play a little bit. And so I love it. I can't believe we're playing in Albert Hall, where there's all that great history of music. And when you get going, it's actually cool when you play tennis.
So, with all the big names assembled, the Royal Albert Hall was ready for the action. Finals day in London began with a chance for fans at the Royal Albert Hall to catch a glimpse of two legends of the game, as John McEnroe faced Henri Leconte. From the very first game, it looked like the Frenchman would try to attack the McEnroe serve.
40-30.
The two men, both in their 50s, were covering plenty of the court in the opening stages, as the American looked to grab an early break. And McEnroe got his reward moments later. The 7-time Grand Slam champion stepping in to take a 2-love lead.
Okay, McEnroe. McEnroe leads by 2 games to love.
But in the very next game, Leconte was able to pounce on a drop in concentration from the 56-year-old. And the former Roland Garros finalist levelled things up on his own service soon after. Now the Frenchman was really beginning to find his rhythm. And he was finding the lines with some delicious backhands, much to his own amazement. The first set continued to go with serve, but then in the 8th game, Leconte needed to be on his toes to save breakpoint. Brilliant from the Frenchman. But McEnroe wasn't relaxing. He reapplied the pressure and eventually did come away with the break. The American went on to serve out for the set.
Okay, first set, McEnroe.
And the triple Wimbledon champion was halfway to victory. Into the first game of set 2, and the lefty American looked to keep up the intensity. In what was becoming a baseline battle, Leconte was looking to lay down a marker of his own. It took until the 3rd game for McEnroe to find the breakthrough, which came with a delightful backhand.
Okay, McEnroe. McEnroe leads by 2 games to 1.
A break behind again, the Frenchman was very keen not to let McEnroe extend that advantage. But the American stayed strong on his serve, mixing it up at the net with some classic play. With LeConte serving to stay in the match, McEnroe wanted this finished. And with a second return winner in the game, the four-time US Open winner wrapped up the match. A happy ending to the ATP Champions Tour season for the ever-popular John McEnroe.
Crowd's amazing. This is my 17th year playing. I never thought I'd be here once. So the fact that I played 70 plus days here in my career is something I'll always remember.
This year saw the retirement of the ATP Champions Tour tournament referee Alan Mills. Alan has been working at the event since its inception, and there was an on-court presentation to a man who's been involved in playing and administrating tennis his entire life. The players, most of whom first met Alan when he was refereeing at Wimbledon, paid their own moving tribute.
First year that I was refereeing the qualifying, the first person to call me out on court happened to be this 18-year-old American college boy, who really I'd heard of, but you know, there was no reputation or anything then. So I had to go on the court, which is the only time I've done that, certainly to do with Wimbledon anyway. And, you know, he got to the semi-final that year, and since then the relationship has grown, as tantamount to what he was saying just earlier, actually, that we have developed a friendship over the years.
I've had a few disputes with referees over the years, but Alan was one of the few guys. Well, first of all, he's a player, so we all respected that, but he looked for ways to keep me on the court as opposed to throwing me off it, and I always appreciated that.
I mean, this place is just absolutely fantastic, you know. The crowds are superb, and tennis that these players provide, you know, it's top-class tennis, but it's also entertainment as well, which everyone goes home with a smile on their face. Outstanding memory, actually today. I mean, that's the last thing I expected, all the players to come out on court and say all those things and such like. It gives me a nice feeling, actually, a satisfactory feeling that maybe I've done something right.
And everybody at the ATP Champions Tour wishes Alan all the best for the future. Still to come on the ATP Champions Tour, the final showdown at the Champions Tennis in London. And there's doubles action as some of the game's best-loved entertainers take to the court. Before the main event, the final of the Champions Tennis, there was some exhibition doubles featuring Mansour Behrami and Younes El-Anoui against James Blake and Mikael Pernfors. We join the match in a deciding tiebreak with nothing to choose between the two teams. The entertaining rallies were beginning to become more frequent as the older team of El-Anoui and Behrami were keen to show they've still got the agility to mix it with the younger pair. Behrami typically continued to improvise, and with the tiebreak still very much in the balance, it was all about who blinked first at the net. Behrami's frustration leading to a lack of tennis balls.
4-3. Blake Pernfors. We need some balls to play with, Mansour.
With a mini break in hand, Blake and Pernfors extended their lead. But Elanui's power from the back of the court quickly grabbed the mini break back for the Moroccan and his partner. A former Roland Garros doubles finalist, Barami kept up his end of the bargain with 2 quick points on serve. Just as the balls returned.
Match points.
But facing match point, the Swedish-American partnership turned it up a notch at the net to try and force the error. At 6-all, the crowd were still none the wiser about who would win, but they were being kept entertained. After failing to win a match point, it was now Barami and Elanui's turn to save one on serve. You would have thought another match point would not be the ideal time for a volleying masterclass, but the 4 legends were only happy to oblige. This was a match that was going on, and on, and on. There has never been a match point quite like it. It was Blake who couldn't keep the rally alive, so the elder statesmen of Elanui and Barami had won. And so the doubles season on the ATP Champions Tour comes to a memorable ending. In the main event at the Royal Albert Hall, finalists Tim Henman and Fernando Gonzalez would face off for a shot at the Champions Tennis Trophy. It was former world number 4 Henman who had a winning record over Gonzalez on the ATP World Tour, and the Briton kicked off proceedings. Yeah. 41-year-old Henman, backed by home support, was giving the Chilean the runaround in the early stages. These two play with very different styles, and Gonzalez was looking to pass the Brit at the net where possible. But as soon as the Chilean ventured forward, Henman was finding the gaps. A breakdown, Gonzalez set about looking for a way back into the first set. But the 6-time Grand Slam semi-finalist was looking strong on serve. With a healthy lead, Henman was looking to wrap up the first set. A disappearing ball didn't help matters, but the Englishman was alert to put away his second chance. And without breaking too much of a sweat, it was the home favourite who took a commanding lead.
Game at first set, Henman.
First set to Henman, it would be a long way back for the defending champion. Early in the second set, and Henman continued to apply the pressure against the former Australian Open finalist. But Gonzalez, the younger man by 6 years, was determined to keep things tighter than he'd managed in the opening set. A break soon followed for the Chilean, and a player renowned for his ferocious forehand was also finding joy on the backhand side. But Henman was not out of this set yet. Having broken back, it was business as usual on the Henman serve. A former world number 5, Gonzalez was still trying to catch the Brit out at the net though. So, with nothing to choose between the pair, a tie-break followed. Gonzalez grabbed the all-important first mini-break. And then a double fault from Henman enabled Gonzalez to level the match. A champion's tiebreak would decide the title.
7-6, 1-0.
Three-time Olympic medalist, Gonzalez was the man on form in the early stages of the breaker. And with a mini break in hand, the defending champion was now favourite to retain his title. Gonzalez had done enough and eventually forced the error from Henman to seal victory at the Champions Tennis. The win in London also propels the 35-year-old to year-end #1 in the ATP Champions Tour rankings. 2015 has been a vintage season for the Chilean.
Yeah, it's very good for me. I mean, I'm so happy to be playing the first time, then won the title, and then coming back for the second time and then win it again. And in the front of these great people, this great venue. I mean, we have a lot of history, and of course, London means a lot for tennis and for me too.
So events at the Royal Albert Hall bring an end to another year of action on the ATP Champions Tour, and a fitting end to proceedings after an exhilarating final in London. In the final ATP Champions Tour rankings of 2015, Fernando Gonzalez clinches year-end #1 after that win in London. Thomas Enquist, Pete Sampras and John McEnroe are tied for second, with beaten finalist at the Royal Albert Hall, Tim Henman, ending in 7th. Next time on the ATP Champions Tour, a year to remember. We take a look back at all the best bits from another fun-filled season. Until then, don't forget to log on to atpchampionstour.com and talk with us on Facebook and Twitter. See you next time.